Oh, good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Oh, we will start with yesterday, but one problem is there in today. I forgot the pen at in my cabin in college. So today, oh, I was planning to take some examples of programming examples so that you will understand properly. But anyway, today I'll just take the remaining part, whatever I just explained yesterday, and tomorrow we'll just take the programming. Okay. So this already we just started with this. We have seen these programming paradigms, right? And we I think started with this object oriented programming approach or paradigm. I think we have just discussed this also. Again, I just refresh this one. As yesterday I just told you, in object-oriented programming, that class and object, this is the very important concept. So class, we can say, that is used to create your own data type. Already I just told you. An object is a variable of that class, we can say. And using that object, we can access the data and member functions. Now here suppose one class is there, and of you can consider here these are the three classes: class A, class B, and class C, right? Or you can say these are the object A, object B, and object C. So for this object A, the data, this is a private data, and that functions, or we can say these are the member function, these are the public member functions. So whatever is the data, these member functions can access only. Other member functions from other objects, these cannot access this private data. If they want to access, so they need to communicate with this public function, and then through that only this data can be accessed. And all these will be communicated with each other using message passing system. So when that program
Sir,
gets
have you shared your screen?
Oh, I think 1 minute. Sorry, I'm not sure. Sorry, I thought it was shared, but anyway. So this part we have seen, right? Programming paradigms. These are the two main categories, and the main focus was on the procedural programming, because this is the recent the era, like the C programming. Mostly, most of the people use the C programming, and second one is the object oriented programming approach, right? So this I was explaining actually. So here, like this object A, object B, and object C. So these are the three objects, and whatever is this for the object A, that this data is private for this object A, and these functions are the public, we can say. So this data cannot be accessed by any other object directly. Only this member function, this is a member of this object, so or class. So this can access only this private data. If suppose any other object that wants to access this, so they cannot access directly, they can access through this one. So first they can access this function. This is a member function, and through this member functions only that data can be accessed. So as yesterday I just told you, so in object oriented programming, that main focus is on the data. But when we consider that procedural oriented programming, in that main focus on the procedure. But here that procedure is not that much important, that whatever the critical part, that we consider as a data. And if you see the today's scenario, uh, every company is securing their own data. It means data is most important, right? So example I just told you, if we consider this objects, I just listed these again. I think I just told these features yesterday again, but we'll take it again. So here of that object can be a person or a place or any atom, that already I just told you. So if you consider that object as a person, then we can say that data is what? That person name, that person salary, that person address, that person age, that person name, everything is related to that person. That becomes the data, and we are securing that data, and whatever are the operations which we want to perform on that, so these are, we can say, the member functions. So here all these things, same things I just listed here. Emphasis on data rather than procedure. So here, as I said, that procedure in our procedural programming, that main focus is on the procedure, and here that programs are divided into what they are called as objects. So here this program is suppose divided into three part. So we're using this object A, object B, and object C, right? And functions that create, sorry, functions that operates on the data of an object are typed, right? So whatever are these functions which are operating on this data, these two are togetherly binded, right? So that same thing, functions that operates on the data of an object are tied together in the data structure. So these two things, entities like data and objects, are tied together. And as we know, as I said, this data is private. This data is private, and this is hidden from other objects, because these object B and object C cannot see this data directly. So data here, data is hidden and cannot be accessed by external function. That is the thing, right? Then objects may communicate with each other through the function. So uh, here you can see object A and object B, these objects can be communicated through each other using the function, and new data and functions can be easily added whenever necessary. New data or functions that can be easily added into this object oriented approach, and here that bottom up approach has been used, right? Now next, yesterday I was just explaining this one, but today I'll take it little bit fast, because yesterday I just explained this one. So first we'll see the object, right? So here that object can be represented like this, or it can be represented like this, right? So if you consider the student as an object here, that object name is a student, and then this part is the data, that name, date of birth, and marks, and so on. So that this part is data, and that we are treating as a private data, and whatever are the functions related to this, so these we can consider as a operations which we can perform on that object, right? So here the total, average, display, and so on, these are the operations or functions which we can perform in this object student, right? This is the one way of representation of that object. Second way is this one. So now here that data is mentioned here, which kind of data we are using here. But in this representation, only that function names have been written here, and we are considering that the data is private data, and that might be any, right? So that might be name, date of birth, marks, address, his roll number, employee number, whatever is the data that we are treating as a private. So this is not mentioned into this, only the functions which are the operations we are performing on this, that is been mentioned here. So this is the second way of representation, right? Now here, as I said, that objects are basic runtime entities in object oriented programming, right? So they may represent a person. Already I just told you, they may represent a person or a place or a bank account or a table or any item that program has to handle. So as I said, one example is also here. You can see this example. If customer and account are two objects, then a customer object may send a message to account object requesting the bank balance, right? So customer is the one object and that account is another object. And suppose if for example if they are communicating with each other for a query, like they are means customer is requesting for the bank balance, right? So this is the thing. So when program is executed, that object can interact with each other by sending messages, right? So this is about the object. Yesterday this slide was not shown, simply I had explained these in short. Okay, so now next one is the class. So I think for the class yesterday I just explained on that whiteboard. Today I don't have that pen, but still yesterday I just told you. I think yeah, this one. So yesterday I just explained this one, right? So in C programming, this structure is there to create that user-defined data type kind of. And in object-oriented programming, that class is there. You can see here this part. Today I don't have pen, so I cannot write anything or mark anything here. But this is a yesterday scenario, right? So a class is a collection of objects of similar type. Here, if you see here again, you can see here that person is a class name, right? And suppose here p1 is the one object, then second is p2, then suppose p3, then p4 and p5 something. So all these objects have that same data type, that is a person. So whatever is the size of this person class, that same size would be there for this p1, p2, p3 and p4 like this, right? So that's why this statement is written here. A class is a collection of objects of similar type, because all the objects of that class are having same type. So whatever is the size of that class, that would be same. So that person, that become the type of that object, right? Now as we mentioned that objects contain data and code to manipulate that data. The entire set of data and code of an object can be made a user defined data type with the help of class, as I said. So whatever is the complete, see here I have written the entire set of data and code of an object. Code means whatever the member functions that class have. So the entire data and code of an object can be made a user defined data type with the help of class. So whatever that person name, that become the user defined data type for that class, right? So this is the meaning of this one. In fact, objects are variables of type class. Obviously, I said that person is a class and p1 is a variable of that class, right? So one example is here is also given. For example, mango, apple, orange, these are the fruits, right? Are the members of the class fruit. So fruit is what? That is a class, and mango, apple, and orange, these are the objects we can say. So here fruit is a class, here is written, and that mango is a is an object. Again, suppose one more you want to mention there, apple you can mention, orange you can mention, but all these three, mango, apple, orange, are the type of this fruit class, and all these are having same type, like mango, apple and orange, all these are having same type and the type is a fruit, right? So this is very simple, you can see, right? Now we'll just move for the data abstraction and encapsulation, right? So here we have seen that statement is written here, the wrapping up of data and functions into a single unit called class, whatever is that unit that is called as class, is known as an encapsulation. So we have seen here this data and functions, these two are wrapped together, right, under the one class, that is entity. and that is nothing but the encapsulation. Whatever the wrapping of this data and the function, that is nothing but the entity, sorry, encapsulation, right? So data encapsulation is the most striking feature of a class because data is not accessible to the outside world. As I said, the data is private, so that is not accessible to the outside world, and only those functions which are wrapped in the class can access it. So here only these functions can access the data. Only here you can see total, average and display. These functions can access this data only. The other than these functions cannot access this data directly. Okay. And abstraction means displaying only essential information and hiding the details. So here what we are doing in this, we are simply displaying this essential information, we are hiding this part. This is the thing. So abstraction means displaying only essential information and hiding the detail. So data abstraction refers to providing only essential information about the data to the outside world, hiding background details or implementation. Whatever is the implementation, explanation, or whatever is the detail that has been hidden, only that information which we want to display to the outside world, that we can display only in this. Right? Now, this is inheritance. So inheritance is what? So inheritance is a process by which objects of one class can acquire the properties of another class. Yesterday, I think I had given the same example. The robin bird is a part of this class, flying bird and bird. So it means this bird is a one class and flying bird is a second class. And whatever is this robin, this is a part of both in this flying bird and bird, right? So it means this robin is having properties of both class. It means it is inherited from one base class. There is a one base class, like suppose bird is the base class, right? That is a main class. That base class, in this base class all birds are coming, and from this base class we are deriving the one class, and that class is nothing but flying birds, right? Only flying birds coming under the flying bird. But whatever is that robin is having some properties from the flying bird and some from the bird. So it is the combination of both. So that's why this is nothing but the inheritance. So there is a one base class and the multiple inherited classes are there in the inheritance. So I think you might understood this. So whatever is the third class, that is the combination of the two base classes, we can say, right? So actually, when we just take example, then you will understand here. At least here you just understand here theory, because without the examples we cannot understand this completely. So in object-oriented programming, so the concept of inheritance provide the idea of reusability. So here that reusability means what? We can add additional features to an existing class without modifying it. Like suppose that bird is a one class. So this is a class, so we can improve the functionality of this. It means we can add the features, additional features into this without modifying this bird class. So here we suppose added the some features and we created the one more class. So this is the meaning, we can add additional features to an existing class without modifying it, right? So this is possible by deriving a new class from an existing class. So as I said, this is a base class and this is a derived class. That bird is a base class and flying bird, we can say that is a derived class. So this is possible by deriving a new class from the existing class, right? New class will have the combined features of both class. Obviously, whatever the new class, that will have the combined features of all the base classes. So this is about inheritance. We'll see examples, then we will understand here. We can see here bird is a base class, right? And it is having some attributes like feathers, leg, eggs, right? This is the base class, that bird. But these two, the classes have been inherited from this bird class. So first one is what? That is a flying bird. It is having some attributes. Second one is a non-flying birds. It is again having some attributes. So non-flying is again derived from the bird class, and this flying bird is again derived from the bird class. Right? It means whatever this flying bird class, suppose here two attributes are there, consider, and here three attributes are there: feathers, legs, eggs. Sorry, feathers, lay eggs. So these are the two attributes, and suppose here again two attribute. So whatever is this robin, this will have these two attributes. Whatever the attributes from this flying bird and this bird, these properties or attributes will have this robin bird, right? And same thing that the shallow is again having the attributes of this as well as this. So this and this. So robin and shallow will have the both properties from the both class, this flying bird and bird, right? Same thing here, that non-flying bird, this is derived from the bird, and suppose here again two properties are there, two or three properties. So whatever is the penguin and kiwi, these two are the birds which have the properties from or attributes from the bird and attributes from the non-flying bird. So these two will have the attributes from both this, and these two will have the attributes from both this. So we can say this is a base class. This bird is a base class, and flying bird and non-flying bird, these two are the derived classes, right? So I think this you might understood the in little manner. So when we take examples, then you will understand it very well. Then next one is a polymorphism. So polymorphism means the ability to take more than one form. I think yesterday I had given the example of addition of the addition function. It means yesterday I told you, if suppose you are having add function that is for addition of two numbers, and second one is again add function that is addition for two strings. So both function name is same, but parameter type is different, because addition of two number, in that parameters are integer parameters, and in addition of the two string, that parameter type is different, that is a string, right? But both have the same the function name, but this case is not allowed in C programming. If function name is same, then that is not allowed. But when we go in the object oriented programming approach, so that polymorphism is there. It means one function having many forms. That example is given here. You can see this is a shape, this is a one, and having under this a draw class, sorry, function, right? Draw is a function, and again circle object, this is one object, it is having again draw function. This box object is again having a draw function, and triangle object, that is again having a draw function. Only this difference is where in this parameters. Here suppose there is no parameter, and this that radius is there, right? Again here length and breadth would be there. Here is again same. So see, if you have the function name same, then whatever are the parameters inside of this bracket here and here, so these at least parameters must have different data types. That would be the condition here. So some things must be different. Either they should have different return type, and this should have a different return type, or this is having one parameter, suppose this is having two parameter, or three parameter, this is having two parameters, like this. So if there is a change in parameter and return type at least, and if function name is same, then that is nothing but the polymorphism. Understanding this? So here one thing you just understand, draw, that function name is same. So only the parameters or return type is different. So that is nothing but the polymorphism. I think you might understood. Now dynamic binding. So binding refers to the linking of a procedure call to the code to be executed in response to a call. And dynamic binding means what? That code associated with a given procedure call is not known until time of call at the runtime. Means until that program gets run, till that code is not known. Only after running, as I said, the two objects when can communicate. So after running that program, only these two objects can communicate. So it is associated with polymorphism and inheritance. Because inheritance and polymorphism also, if you see here, that circle, sorry, this draw and this draw, this name is same, but when we can say these two are different when these two gets executed, because after execution only that system will know the parameters are different, right? So that is the meaning here. It is associated, sorry, this dynamic binding means that code associated with a given procedure call is not known until the time of the call at runtime, right? So after just execution only that system will come to know that the two functions are different, right? Then meshes communication. So an object oriented programming approach consists of a set of objects that communicate with each other. So how they communicate? So these are the three steps to communicate with each other. First is simple creating a class that define objects and their behavior. Means first is create a class that should define objects and their member functions or their behavior. Second, after creating class, then second one is create object from the class definition. Now next step is create a class. Sorry, create a object. First is create class, second is create object, and third one is establishing communication among them. So third is, suppose we want to access the member functions of one class and member functions of another class, so that comes in the third one. So using object only these member functions can be accessed. So these are the 7 features of object oriented programming. So if anything in this, please ask me. I just listed over here, right? So next was, I was planning, but I need that pen for me to write here so that you will understand. I'll show that screen only because I don't have the option. This was in my mind today, but here that first bullet is what, writing a simple program, and after writing that simple C program only I can explain all these features. So this we can say this is a kind of template of a C++ program. Once we understand this template, it means we will understand the uh, IDE kind of thing, right? So how to write that C++ program, how to compile, how to run, and what is the syntax and of that program, that I'll just tell you in this. And after this, then we'll start with the classes and object. That is most important, right? And my suggestion is don't go as per your syllabus, because in your syllabus they are not given any detailed things, because they just jump from one concept to another concept. So if you see the syllabus again, you can see here they just jumped from one point to another point. Here directly encapsulation, then constructor, destructor, polymorphism, and something. But here they have not mentioned about the basic programming. So I'm just going step by step, right? So we have just completed with this the object oriented approach along with the features. So tomorrow I'll just take that the example part. So today it's very tough for me to explain you, and if you just missed that basic part, then you will get problem in the further examples. Okay, so this is from my side. We'll stop here. If anything you can ask me, huh? Because today I am at my home I've not gone to the college and I just forgot that pen, whatever that pen is used to write on the whiteboard. Okay, so this is done from my side. If anything, you can ask me. I'll stop the sharing. Yes, anything? Because today and yesterday I just taken the theoretical part only, but from the tomorrow onwards, the we'll say that that would be the programming part, and don't miss that part. Okay. So, any doubt, or shall I stop here? Yes. Okay. If yes, see, this course is not the programming dependent. Any one language you need to study here under, either we can go with the Java programming or the C++ programming. But when we just go with the Java programming is very vast, because if I'm just taking whatever the concept are there in the syllabus, right? So that part we can go with Java. See that there is no difference, only syntax difference is there if you are going with Java and if you are going with the C++. So we'll have the both combination, we'll say, right? Because Java, in Java, that class, how to write that class, that writing of class is the difference, and here in C++ that writing of class is the difference. The rest things are same, but we'll go with both. First I'll just complete the combination, that concept, and then we'll just have the examples of whatever the examples we are taking from either CPP or Java. Okay, so this will do, because that first is that concept is important. Like if you suppose studied that concept of class and object, right, then we'll have a program on the C++ that based on the class and object, and that same program will have on Java, like class and object. Okay, so anything, any other? And whatever the features we have seen, these are only kind of listed, but we will have the detailed on in coming lectures, because inheritance we have in detail, that polymorphism we have detail, that overloading is detailed, the dynamic binding is detailed, so everything is detailed there. So we will take the examples and then we will understand it. Okay. Any other doubt? Yes. If anything, you can ask. Otherwise, we will stop. Okay. And see, if anything, like suppose today I just started just a presentation, but I forgot to share that screen. So don't put the messages here, because when we start, so I don't go for that message box. So in between, just interrupt and just tell me, sir, you forgot to share that screen, right? So okay, thank you. Then tomorrow we'll just go with that part, right? Thank you.